Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 8 of Code Geass R2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, Lelouch was in a bit of a weird place because he failed to save Nunnally, and he sort of fell into, I guess you could call it a depression. I think I drew a parallel between this and Gurren Lagann with Simon. But, when things seemed to be about as bad as they were possibly going to get with him using Refrain, that narcotic, he sort of came back with the help of his friends, so things are kind of looking up. So it seems like Lelouch is back in action, and really there's not much that can be done to stop him at this point. I feel like, barring something catastrophic, which I hope doesn't happen. I'm thinking a little bit about how things could go from here, and I feel like one distinct possibility is that Nunnally doesn't make it, and I really hope that's not the case, because she's probably the most innocent of all the characters in terms of personality and in terms of, crimes committed. But, the more I've thought about it, because I have been thinking about it the past few days, I feel like this is ramping up to be a bit of a tragedy. Or maybe a bittersweet ending. Because I get the feeling that with the situation as it is, with Lelouch as Zero and with Suzaku as the Knight of the Round, I feel like one way or another change is going to be affected, but it will come at a great cost. I guess it's only a matter of time before we see what that cost might be. Because, even though the special administrated zone of Nippon is being established here, I feel like this isn't exactly going to be a permanent thing that'll, end all the conflict in the series. So, it's interesting that people are sort of saying oh, you want to change things from within now. The idea that Lelouch would go along with the special administrated zone is, kind of against the grain considering what had happened last time. Man. So it's rather unfortunate that Euphemia has such a horrible reputation among the 11s, especially considering she basically wanted nothing but to help them. Man. So the situation is tense, there's tension between the Black Knights and Lelouch, there's tension with Lelouch and, everyone else just in general. Ooh. So, to be told that a Governor General is not a queen, that's, a little bit unsettling. This aide is essentially telling Nunnally, watch it here. Your authority is not limitless, and if you're not careful, there are going to be consequences. And that bodes rather poorly considering Nunnally's familial relations and, her overall status as the sister of basically public enemy number one. Ooh. So Lelouch is, he's trying something here. He's bringing up talking to Nunnally over the phone. I'm wondering if he's just trying to put Suzaku on the spot here, or what the deal is. Or maybe the idea here is he's just demonstrating that he really doesn't remember. I mean, we do know he does, but, yeah. So things are very interesting indeed. Alright, so this is nice. There's still this confirmation that Suzaku's under the effect of the Geass. And I guess when you get down to it, the guy was just rushing him with a knife. I don't think he was really in any real danger. But it's interesting that Suzaku is aware he's under a Geass. Like, that's gotta be kind of interesting, because I don't think he particularly wants to die or is seeking death, but to be unable to allow that to happen, like, that's gotta be something, Especially if it would force you to act in a way contrary to how you normally would. Alright, so Lelouch is ramping things up. That little snippet of conversation on the phone, like, our tactics have changed, but our strategy remains the same. I feel like that means the special administrated zone is only going to be a cover, essentially. He still intends to shake things up a bit, but this is more like a foothold than anything else. Ooh. Okay, so Villetta is, aware that he's Zero. I mean, of course she is, but she's sort of saying it openly. So it seems like she's just switching sides now. And understandably so, if, Ogi is involved. Man. So now Nina's somehow involved in all this stuff. Last we saw her, I'm pretty sure she was, sitting on top of a nuclear bomb. Man, I guess that just goes to show, like, you can never judge a book by its cover, because the only thing I really knew about Nina, even before Code Geass, was the incident with the table. And if I'm being real, that's still the thing that sticks out in my mind most, but, to have made a nuclear weapon and then to be involved with the Britannian Empire, it makes me wonder if maybe her talents were just sort of wasted in the student council and all that. Ooh. So this is something, Suzaku now is a lord, essentially. Like, the idea is that, like, the soldier who attacked him, like, he gets to sign his death warrant. The question is, will he? And we don't have confirmation one way or the other so far, but I feel like Suzaku wouldn't go along with something like that. Or at least he wouldn't have in the first half. So, I'm wondering just how much he's changed, because clearly he has. Man, so Nina was having a real unfortunate kind of time there with her weapon not working. It's interesting that I guess she was sort of forgiven, because, like, I feel like if you build a bomb and your intention is to set it off, like, that's a good way to not only not have any friends, but to sort of be an enemy of the state. And, sure, she might have done it for laudable reasons, but I don't know. Alright, so I guess Suzaku is unwilling to sign the death warrant, but it's not only just up to him. So, whoever that anonymous guy was, he's toast. Ooh. So that's interesting that Suzaku is volunteering to be stationed here, specifically in this area where people will just generally kind of hate him, in large part due to his connection to Euphemia. I guess, in a way, that's kind of consistent with his character, in that he always seems to take the hard way. I don't know. I feel like there's something else going on here, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing this specifically as, sort of like a memorial to Euphemia, to try and, finish what she started, essentially. Ooh, okay. So they're talking to Zero now, and I guess he was expecting to see Nunnally. Huh. So Zero's playing a tricky little game here. The identity of the man behind the mask is not important, but the content of his philosophy, essentially. Ooh. So it's interesting that Zero is essentially negotiating for his own salvation. I'm wondering what his game is here, because, even he himself is stating that, the Black Knights would lynch him if only he got amnesty. Alright. So I guess there's dissension among the ranks here. Nunnally could essentially pardon Zero, but, there are many people who would be very unhappy about that. And I guess there are multiple interpretations here. On the one hand, you can't let Zero go. On the other hand, without him, the Black Knights would crumble under their own weight. They don't have someone capable of replacing him as a leader. So they're just going for it. They're essentially pardoning him and exiling him. So obviously there's got to be some rationale behind this. There's got to be some goal in mind here. Because, just taking Zero and what he says at face value, that's generally not a winning strategy, I don't think. I get the feeling that this is part of a ploy here, but I'm struggling to see as what the wider goal might be. Is he trying to further separate himself from Zero, Lelouch from Zero? I mean, he's just sort of saying, it's done, I've got no attachment to this place. And, I guess that's true to a degree, but, man, why would he just leave and cut all ties? Because I do find it hard to believe that he would just sort of up and leave school, leave the Black Knights, leave when this administered zone is being established. I guess if he gets the idea that there might be a massacre, he wouldn't want to hang around for that, but, seeing as how he was kind of the cause of the last one, I feel like he wouldn't have too much to worry about. I'm wondering if maybe he's going to take the fight to the Emperor, although what he could do by himself is kind of unclear to me. I'm wondering, maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure one person with a Geass cannot affect another person with a Geass. I seem to remember that being the case with Mao. Or maybe that wasn't the case, seeing as how Mao could read Lelouch's mind. Maybe he just couldn't, hypnotize him or something. I'm gonna have to rewatch one of those episodes. Yeah, I don't know. So whatever Zero's plan is, I have no idea what it could possibly be. I can only hope that it works out. Okay, so he's negotiated something pretty hefty in that a lot of crimes will be, forgiven and expunged, and, people will not be executed for their crimes, but Lelouch has to be exiled. Which, that seems like a considerable trade, I guess. If everyone else essentially gets pardoned. Okay. So I guess that makes a bit more sense than him just sort of effectively taking his pardon and running away. So... Oh, okay. So for him to sort of address Suzaku specifically and talk about, what it means to be Japanese, what it means to have your own country and all that, that's, it's kind of a loaded question for Suzaku especially, but it's interesting that he's sort of picked on the idea that it's a common culture, and therefore Suzaku is Japanese. He's not a Britannian, honorary Britannian, but, he will never be one. He is Japanese first and foremost. So it seems like this is all part of a big plan here, and the Black Knights are going to do something. But the question is what? Because I feel like this is just a literal smokescreen to try and cause something. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a ploy to get Nunnally back. Ooh. Oh, that's interesting. So, I guess they're all Zero. Now I'm wondering how he got everyone to go along with this. Alright, well... I guess that's it then, Zero's exiled. I guess they're all Zero, therefore they're all exiled. Meaning, they're no longer a part of the Empire, they can form their own country. This is a neat little trick, but I feel like this is something that will not hold up to wider scrutiny. It might be legal and all that, but, I can't see that the powers that be would uphold something like this. I feel like this is something that would be resisted by force. Although it seems like Lelouch has planned a couple steps ahead. Alright, so that's interesting. They made a ship out of an iceberg, essentially. Now, those poor Britannian soldiers. Let's focus on finding the real Zero. It's like, guys, if there's 1 million people here and they're all dressed up, your odds are precisely 1 in 1 million. It's interesting that there's almost multiple factions of Zeros, Some are willing to fight back, some don't want there to be any bloodshed. It's rather unfortunate that Ogi almost immediately gave himself away. Not intentionally, but I guess Violetta can recognize his voice. Ooh. It's very telling that Nunnally's little aide here says, if we're going to lose 1 million people, we might as well start making an example. Which seems to me would be another Euphemia incident. Alright, so this is rather cunning, The idea is that they're doing this to secede peacefully. And that, if there are going to be any hostilities here, it would be the Britannian Empire who initiates them. And once you initiate violence, that's kind of it, Especially because there's no real justification for throwing the first punch here. Ooh. Alright. So this is the ploy here. Suzaku is unwilling to let this devolve into another massacre. Alright. Yeah, you know, this is pretty masterful, and that Suzaku understands what's going on here. It's like, look, if you start killing these people, like, then it's over. Like, trust is lost forever for everyone. Alright. Wow, so this is a real twist where Suzaku is essentially having to rely on Zero to keep these people safe. And that's gotta be a real rotten place to be in for Suzaku. Wow, so just like that, you know, they're exiled, they get off scot-free. The question is, where are they going now? Because I feel like, for a little while, they're just going to have to sort of wander around, but man. So it's interesting that we have to check in on the Chinese Federation again, and they're like, okay, well, everything went well. I get the feeling that if things hadn't, they might have intervened a little bit. You know, because that's still something that's a bit tense. You know, the Chinese Federation and the Britannian Empire, you know, they're not at war per se, but they don't exactly get along. Wow. So, Lelouch really leveraged all of his knowledge here, I guess, of Suzaku and of Nunnally. But I guess the question is, what about Nunnally? She's still in the hands of the Empire. Hopefully, Lelouch can come back and save her. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.